single dad driver was
Hired to escort a CEO. What he?
said at the dinner shocked the whole table. Marcus Hayes never imagined that a single Tuesday evening would rewrite the story of his life. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? He was 42 years old, raising his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, alone after losing his wife to cancer 3 years prior, and working as a hired driver for a luxury transportation company in Chicago. Every morning, he packed Lily's lunch with a little handwritten note tucked inside, dropped her at school, and then spent 12 to 14 hours behind the wheel trying to keep the lights on and the refrigerator full. His colleagues pitied him. His neighbors whispered about him. But Marcus never let the weight of his circumstances steal the warmth from his eyes or the kindness from his voice. That was something his wife Sarah had always admired about him, and he carried it like a torch in her memory. On the evening that changed everything, Marcus was assigned to escort Victoria Langdon, the 50-year-old CEO of Langtech Industries, a woman worth an estimated $4 billion, who was known in boardrooms across the country for her sharp tongue, ruthless decisions, and cold, calculating efficiency. She had fired 3 personal assistants in 1 month. It cancelled interviews with Forbes, and reportedly had not laughed in public for years. When Marcus opened the car door for her, she barely glanced at him. She was on a call, rattling off instructions with the kind of authority that made the air around her feel thin. Marcus drove in respectful silence, but somewhere between Michigan Avenue and the hotel where the dinner was being held, Victoria ended her call, stared out the window at the city lights, and said with a kind of hollow bitterness, "Do you ever get tired of doing the same thing every day for people who never even see you?" Marcus thought for a moment and said quietly, "No, ma'am. Every ride is different when you pay attention to the person, not just the destination." She looked at him through the rearview mirror, slightly startled, and said nothing more for the rest of the drive. The dinner was a high-profile gathering of 12 of Chicago's most powerful executives, venture capitalists and philanthropists, held in a private dining room at the Langford Hotel. Marcus was expected to wait outside, as drivers always did, but a last-minute seating arrangement error meant the event coordinator, flustered and desperate, asked him to sit at the far end of the table simply to fill the empty chair and keep the setting even. He sat quietly, water glass in hand, observing the conversation around him with calm, attentive eyes. The room was deep in a debate about employee retention, company culture, and what truly motivates workers in a post-pandemic world. Each executive spoke with statistics, graphs referenced from memory, and calculated theories. Then the conversation turned to Victoria, who had recently laid off over 300 employees in a cost-cutting measure that had made headlines. Someone asked her directly and pointedly whether she believed those decisions could ever truly be justified. The table went quiet. Every eye turned to her. And before she could answer, Marcus, the driver sitting at the far end, who was never supposed to be there, spoke. He did not raise his voice. He did not reach for power. He simply said, "I lost my wife 3 years ago, and in the weeks after she passed, 4 people from her former workplace sent handwritten letters to my daughter telling her what her mother meant to them. Not emails, not company policy condolences, handwritten letters. And I realized that the greatest thing a leader can give is not a paycheck. It is the feeling that a person matters. Because when everything else is gone, that is what people remember. That is what keeps them going." The silence that followed lasted nearly 10 seconds. Then Victoria Langdon, $4 billion CEO, iron-willed and unreadable, quietly set down her fork and looked at her plate. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes glistened. She nodded once, slowly, as if something that had been locked inside her for years had just been gently released. 3 weeks later, Marcus received a call. Victoria had quietly reached out to all 300 laid-off employees, offering rehiring packages, had started an internal program called The Letter Initiative, encouraging managers to write personal notes of appreciation to their teams, and had personally enrolled in a grief counseling program she had avoided for 2 decades after losing her own mother. She also offered Marcus a full-time position managing her personal transportation team with full benefits, a salary triple what he earned, and a college fund started in Lily's name. Marcus accepted not because of the money, but because for the first time in 3 years, he felt that Sarah's spirit had found someone else to carry the light forward. Sometimes the most powerful voice in the room is the one no one expected to hear. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories, where every story is a reminder that humanity's greatest strength has always been each other.